We're staged for another run of nitro-fueled NHRA talk. It's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts, with Marty Huff and 10-time NHRA winner Doug Herbert. Brought to you by Hercules Tires. Now, here are your hosts, Doug and Marty.
This is The Straight Line on Drag Racing. Thanks for stopping by our half hour of horsepower. Appreciate you being with us. At the Strip in Las Vegas, Don Schumacher won professional race number 300. And today we'll talk to the boss about his career, business, and the future of the sport. The burnout is complete, and we're set to launch another edition of The Straight Line. Wherever you may be, coast to coast, around the world, this is The Straight Line on Drag Racing here at MRN.com. Along with four-time IHRA Top Fuel champion and 10-time NHRA National Event winner Doug Herbert, I am Marty Huff. Coming up in about 5 or 6 minutes, we will talk to the Don himself, Don Schumacher, about win number 300 and about his career in drag racing. While we've got a couple of minutes, Doug, coming up, one of the biggest fundraisers for brakes that you have all year is coming up just before the four-wide event. It has to do with golf and having a good time.
Yeah, so Thursday before the four-wide event here in Concord, we're going to have our, this is our 10th annual Brakes Golf Tournament.
Wow.
Right over here at Rocky River. So people can go to putonthebrakes.org and find out about how they can get involved. Come out and volunteer, come out and put together a team, play with us, whatever you want. And we're going to have a bunch of the NHRA and NASCAR guys out there to have a lot of fun with, and it'll be a great time. You know, you've been there. It's always a great time. We're going to do also a Straight Line MRN show live from the golf tournament, so that'll be a lot of fun, getting the guys together there, so it's going to be a great time.
Now, for those that didn't catch last year's version, it was one of the best shows that we did all season long. It will be a 1-hour show, but it will be all audio only, as we'll be live at Rocky River, so we won't have any cameras there or be able to stream. So it'll be audio only, but we'll be there for an entire hour. And the reason we're there for an hour is that we can easily fill that up. For an hour, and we could probably go for an hour and a half or even 2 hours with the names that'll be there. Last year, we just sat down, had a table there with broadcast equipment, and just went, "Hey, you, come on over here. Hey, you, hey, stop on by." And they come over for 3-4 minutes or whatever, 5 minutes or whatever, and we just sit there, talk, do whatever we need to do, and then move on to the next person.
Well, everybody's having fun. It's a great time to hang around and talk to all of our friends that are involved in racing in general, drag racing, NASCAR racing.
Yeah, so that'll be coming up here the Thursday before the four wides here at ZMAX Dragway. So if you need more information, want to get involved, putonthebrakes.org is where you do so. Coming up, we will talk to the guy that won his 300th professional race as a driver and an owner. Coming up is Don Schumacher next.
O'Reilly. If your vehicle isn't stopping like it used to, visit O'Reilly Auto Parts for the Spring Brake Deals event. Take advantage of the O'Reilly Auto Parts Do It Right rebate and get a $20 O'Reilly gift card by mail when you buy a set of Brake Best Select pads and a pair of rotors. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Where will you be when NASCAR comes to Chicago's fastest loop? 4 days of racing, tailgating, camping, and music. Come to Chicagoland Speedway September 14th through the 17th. Tickets for Sunday Chicagoland 400 are available now. Camping spots are available and selling fast. All kids' tickets $25 off adult price and free on certain race days. Get your tickets and campsite now at ChicagolandSpeedway.com. Chicagoland Speedway, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series playoffs start here.
Driver safety is the #1 priority in racing. It's also the #1 priority in trucking. The Detroit Assurance Suite of safety systems helps to protect drivers, their trucks, and other motorists by helping to mitigate the severity of collisions. Active brake assist, adaptive cruise control, and lane departure warning, all bringing a new level of safety and protection to the road. Don't just want better business solutions, demand them. Learn more at demanddetroit.com.
Welcome back to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's more with Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
History was made a couple of weeks ago at the Strip in Las Vegas as Don Schumacher took home his 300th win as a professional. And on the phone line with us right now is the owner of Don Schumacher Racing. Don Schumacher joins us. Don, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. I enjoy your show and enjoy coming on board.
Don, 300 wins. That's a lot, man.
Yeah, boy, it is.
5 wins as a driver and 300 wins now as a team owner overall. And, obviously you were the owner, driver, crew chief when your cars were running. But you stepped away from racing in '74 to focus on business, then came back in when Tony got involved, back in the late 90s. Tell us about all that time in between. Were you thinking about racing, or you were just all business that time in between?
Well, Doug, as you well know, drag racing or auto racing is really a business and a sport that once you're involved in it, it's almost impossible to get it out of your system. It is always flowing in your blood. It's always been in my blood. It's always been something that I've enjoyed doing and loved doing. So all of the while that I was building Schumacher Electric and my other business, I always thought about getting back into drag racing. I'd go to one race a year, and that was Indy. And every time I'd leave, I'd wipe my brow and say, wow, thank God I got away from it without getting back in again.
Well, is it still fun? I mean, 300 wins and a lot of years involved in it. Is it still fun, or is it just a business? And I know doing what you do, dealing with, I've dealt with plenty of crew chiefs, also. And I mean, you're dealing with a lot of egos, a lot of different things. Is it still fun? Is the funness still there, or is it a business?
It's both. I mean, it has to be a business to fund 7 teams and looking for a sponsor to fund an 8th team. It's a business. But I love business. I love what I do. And NHRA drag racing is a real special business that creates all of your competitors and fans and people that are tied to the sport become your family members. Even though I love to beat John Force every time we pull up to the start line, I'd get down in the dirt and wrestle with him if that would be the right thing to do. We don't exchange Christmas cards, but there's a lot of warm feelings between John and I, family-wise, that, oh my God, something happens to one of your family members, we're going to be there for each other no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
The competition on the racetrack and those feelings get put aside, and that's just the way the whole sport is, not just between John Force, but whether it be Connie Coletta or Don Gartlett years ago or Kenny Bernstein or Don Perdome, and it can go on and name the names that I've raced with. They all become family members, and it's a wonderful sport in that regard.
Yep, and it is. And I've known you for a long time, and you and I are I'm proud to say we're good friends too, and you've always been there for me as well. So, I can't thank you enough for that as well. And speaking of our friendship, and I haven't talked to you about this in a while, how's your health? You went through a scare here last year. Bring us up to date on that. Let the listeners know and the viewers know how you're doing. And everybody sees you out there at the track, so obviously you're doing okay.
I am doing just fine. I had cancer a little over 2 years ago. Went through surgery, radiation. I was fortunate I didn't have to have chemo, and it beat me up pretty good, but I am feeling just fine now, and I go in for regular checkups every 4 to 6 months right now, and actually I have a checkup right after the race in Houston. But I am feeling fine, and there is nothing that is bothering me. I can go do whatever I want to do any way I want to do it. So everything is good on the health front. I'm 72 years old, so I wish there was a way that I could get 20 years back. But I think most all of us want to do that, including the 2 guys I'm talking to on the phone.
Yeah, you're right there. Hey, one thing that I know you're really passionate about and you're really good at, and you've taken me fishing before too. Remember, you had to pull the hook out of my finger. But tell us a little bit about your fishing. I know you do some competitive tournaments all over America, South America, all over the place. Tell us a little bit about your fishing and your passion for that.
My boat is in Las Sueñas, Costa Rica, which is on the west coast of Costa Rica right now. We just finished what's called a Triple Crown down there against the best fishermen in the world, and it's the first time that we had ever fished Costa Rica, this area, and against some of these teams. And we were really at behind the 8 ball as far as being able to really compete, but I'm proud out of 52 boats, we ended up 22nd.
Wow. Top half.
We're as high as 5th in the second leg. It's a triple leg fishing. You fish for 3 days in January, 3 days in February, and 3 days in March. And we had a great time. Already convinced that we will fish that tournament in 2018 and go from there. But fishing in Costa Rica has been fantastic, in both Costa Rica and all the way down to Panama. It's a beautiful part of the country. The ocean is flat most all the time. Makes it very enjoyable.
If you need a deckhand next time, you be sure and let me know.
The trouble is the crew sleeps in little bitty bunk beds.
I don't know if I'd fit.
I know you wouldn't fit. But, we all know how tall you are.
Yeah, probably not.
And it's not very comfortable sleeping on the floor in the lounge. So, but we'll have to get you down there. I know you would love the fishing down there and love the people of Central America and some of the nature things that they have going on down there. I was just down there a week ago and went river rafting. You go out in a little ponga boat down a river and you call monkeys and they come to the boat and you feed them bananas, and then there's 25-foot-long crocodiles in the rivers, and it's a unique area. Sloths in the trees, great amount of nature and wildlife in that part of the world that is still accessible to the public. So it's really a special place.
Don Schumacher is our guest here on The Straight Line, and more with Don coming up after this.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
O'Reilly.
If your vehicle isn't stopping like it used to, visit O'Reilly Auto Parts for the Spring Brake Deals event. Take advantage of the O'Reilly Auto Parts Do It Right rebate and get a $20 O'Reilly gift card by mail when you buy a set of Brake Best Select pads and a pair of rotors. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
So what are your favorite drivers really thinking? We'll tell you each weekday on NASCAR Today, midday.
Getting married has been incredible. I wish I had figured all this out sooner.
Get the latest news from the sport and the opinions of NASCAR's biggest stars.
Changing over to Ford will open up some opportunities and possibilities and some just pure potential for the team.
That's NASCAR Today, midday. Weekdays on the Motor Racing Network.
It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, once again, here's Doug and Marty.
Thanks for joining us today on The Straight Line. And still with us on the telephone line is Don Schumacher. And Don, one of the things you said after the race at Las Vegas, and you've said this before, and I want to revisit it, is that you said that the sport has made you a better businessman. Kind of exactly explain what you meant by that.
Well, when you have to deal with the different personalities and all aspects of the sport, from sponsors to crew chiefs to drivers to crew people to management that I have in the team there. My drag race team has about 145 employees,
Wow.
maybe 150. We're in 150,000 square feet in Brownsburg, Indiana. We got 20 plus 5-axis machines making the parts and pieces that we use in racing. And all of those things has caused me to have to pay more attention to business than I normally would at this point in my life. I love what we're doing. I love to find ways to lower the cost of the products that the racers use to make the sport more robust. Otherwise, have more teams out there, have teams have a lower budget because the parts cost them a little bit less. So we work real hard at that, and I'm blessed. My operation continues to grow. I never would have imagined I'd ever fill up the building that we built, but we are full, and I'm considering adding on some more square footage down there just because we're out of space. And some other opportunities are coming forward with different projects with some of my sponsors that I look to take advantage of and possibly add business opportunities or business pieces to Don Schumacher Racing and Don Schumacher Motorsports.
Don, who's more easy to get along with, or who's more easy to work with, crew chiefs or drivers?
Every one of them are different.
Nice step.
Some of the drivers are real easy and nice and wonderful to work with, and other ones can be a challenge all the time. And there's some crew chiefs that are very easy, wonderful to work with, and then there's, you have great people there that are tremendously capable of doing what you're asking them to do, and now you're coming in and managing what they're doing to a degree, and it's difficult. You have to learn how to handle different personalities different ways, and it's a challenge every time you sit down with any one of the drivers or any one of the crew chiefs and how you're going to handle the communication about what you're going to talk about. And, these guys are professionals and the ladies are professionals. They know when they've made a mistake. You don't really have to sit down and talk to them about reaction times or red lighting or smoking the tire. They know what's going on. You better focus on a bigger global situation than that. I mean, every one of them, it breaks their heart to not perform at the very top. So they're beating themselves up already. So to come in there and try to tell them how they did something wrong, they already know. They've already analyzed it, and they're already unhappy with themselves. So none of that works, and there's other ways that you have to work with these people. And that's part of what I've learned through the years, having multiple teams and multiple crew chiefs. And Dan Olson is a different crew chief than Alan Johnson was, than Ron Tobler is, than Dickie Venables, to Mike Green or Todd Okahara, and I could go on and name after name, or Brian Karate. Everyone is a different person and a different personality that you have to handle differently.
Hey, Don, with 300 wins, that's a lot of trips to the winner's circle. What, and maybe that's not your best drag racing memory, but what's one of your best, or maybe a couple of your best at track drag racing memories?
Well, it has to be my first win as a owner driver, and that was when I won Indy in 1970.
Yep.
And every win after that has been very, very special back when I drove, and every every win that my son has had. I mean, what father doesn't relive their life through their children?
Yeah.
So every win that Tony has had, and Antron is almost like a son to me, and Leah's almost like a daughter to me in my book. I mean, I first found her out in California when she was a teenager, and licensed her in a funny car in Indy shortly after that in Jack Beckman's car. And she's a remarkable person, but every one of them, when it's almost your child, you relive every one of those wins at a very high level because of your connection to that person. But the sweetest one was really the first one, which I never imagined in my life that I would ever even win one NHRA race, no less win 300 of them.
Yeah, no doubt. Bring it back to more of the recent, Don. Sean Langdon took a job over at Coletta Motorsports, and you said in a press release that if Sean had the opportunity to run a full-time schedule somewhere, that you weren't going to stand in the way. Where is the fourth dragster right now for your team?
I am still looking for funding and, still negotiating and talking to people, but I do not have anything that I can put together at this time. That may change in the next 30 days, but this opportunity came forward for Sean Langdon, and, I'm a competitor with Connie Coletta and Jimmo and that whole group over there, Mac Tools versus Matco Tools and such, but like I said previously, we're a family, and when Sean called me, I said, of course you can go over there and drive over there, and I release you. I mean, he was on my payroll. We had committed to each other, and when that opportunity came forward, because Sean wants to drive a race car. He's not interested in just receiving a paycheck. And so that's what's driven him, and I know that about Sean and most of my people. So it was an easy decision on my part. I think the Coletta clan is a great group of racers over there, a great team and team owner, and they'll do a great job with Sean. I'll hate my drivers pulling up against him on the starting line, but that's all part of it.
Well, I'll be on a fitness program, so you got my number, Don. I'll be lean and mean. You need me to drive, and I'm there.
Well, through my treatment, Doug, I'm down almost 50 pounds. So how many pounds are you planning on losing?
If I need to lose, boy, I don't know, 50 would be pushing. I'll look like Johnny West if I lost 50 pounds.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Well, that's something funny to think about. Another fun question I thought I would ask you is, who's your favorite competitor after all these years of racing? It could have been the guys that you've drove and raced against, or current competitors.
I have to say John Force.
Right.
Yeah.
And Don, there was a lot made about the snit that happened at Pomona, and there was a lot said about that. But I don't see anything wrong about being pissed off at your rival. I mean, that's what rivals do, right?
I think so.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Everybody made a big deal about it, and I don't see the big deal.
Well, neither do I.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish there was one thing that I was that John Force said, and that's, I wish somebody would show me how I'm a billionaire.
Right.
I live a great life and everything else, but wow, I'd love to find that billion.
Yeah.
Being Don Schumacher, being upset with John Force, we're competitors.
Yeah, right.
Plain and simple. If it's a life-threatening situation, I'm there in a second.
Yeah.
But if it's pull up to the starting line or roll around in the dirt, I'm going to give you as hard of a time as I possibly can and do my damnedest to win.
Yeah.
Well, Don Schumacher, winner of his 300th national event as a owner-driver, just incredible story since 1970, winning the U.S. Nationals. Don, thanks for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you before too long out here at the races.
Great talking to you, and we'll see the fans at Houston in about a week and a half, and then Charlotte shortly after that. Look forward to seeing you.
Thanks for your time, Don. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Don Schumacher joining us here on The Straight Line, and when we return, we'll wrap up another great edition of the show.
O'Reilly.
If your vehicle isn't stopping like it used to, visit O'Reilly Auto Parts for the Spring Brake Deals event. Take advantage of the O'Reilly Auto Parts Do It Right rebate and get a $20 O'Reilly gift card by mail when you buy a set of Brake Best Select pads and a pair of rotors. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It's time to start pouring concrete, and the Housby mixer system is ready for the job. The Housby mixer system was created specifically with the driver in mind. All controls and specs are completely customizable to your operations. Our durable, driver-friendly mixer can be mounted on all truck types, and our expert support is second to none. On-site and live phone support is just a phone call away. For more information, visit Housby.com. Housby, an official sponsor of NASCAR for over 40 years.
I'm Steve Post.
And I'm Ashley Stremme.
Join us Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. Eastern for MRN's Wing Nation on MAV TV.
The biggest and best names in wing sprint car racing join us for in-depth conversations, and we'll have the latest news from the dirt tracks across America.
Plus, we'll send our girl Lauren into the sprint car pits to give you a behind-the-scenes look at sprint car racing, and we'll have your Tweet Your Seat.
MRN's Wing Nation Saturdays at 9:30 and 12:30 Eastern on MAV TV.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, back to Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Thanks for being with us on this Thursday here on The Straight Line. Appreciate Don Schumacher joining us. And, Doug, it's hard to underestimate Don's impact on the sport. I mean, it's just incredible. 300 wins, yes. And that's one of the more incredible things. But when he was talking about almost 150 people that he employs at his shop in Brownsburg, that's unbelievable.
Think about what the impact would be if Don Schumacher Racing didn't show up to the next race.
Correct.
That would be then you'd figure out real quick what the impact is. So the impact that Don has had and has on the sport of drag racing is pretty critical. And honestly, it's a little bit worrying when, it used to be between 32 dragsters or, 32 nitro cars that would qualify each week, 16 drags or 16 funny cars. There was probably 20 teams. And now, we've got 4 teams controlling 80 or 90% of the race cars. Yeah. That's a little bit scary. And, honestly, it's obviously a good job by Don to be able to keep all these team sponsors and everybody engaged out there. But I hope that all the Fox Sports, all this new things that are happening with NHRA will bring some of the people back, because I think, honestly, the independent having a few independent teams out there like Torrance and other guys like I was for years, Wilkerson, out there racing your car either on your own or obviously with some sponsor help, but not being part of of John Force or Coletta or Schumacher. I mean, where they've got 10 cars in a huge multi-million-dollar budget. I mean, I think that is tough. That's tough for the sport. So hopefully, that'll continue to come around.
Next week, we will talk about what is happening at Houston, our one and only trip to Royal Purple Raceway down in Baytown. One of the more interesting tracks on the circuit. It's actually a little bit below sea level, and we'll talk about that.
Baytown, and I've won there, had great success there. So, we'll be looking forward to going down there. And I think the Angel family probably still owns the track. It used to be the Angel and the Gay family that owned that track. I'm not sure if the Gay family is still involved, but it's a great track and also a fast one where they've set a lot of records.
And it's first of 3 in a row, Houston and Charlotte here at ZMAX Dragway, and then down to Atlanta. We'll check up on all of that next week. Thanks for everybody for joining us here on The Straight Line. So for Doug and everybody else involved, I'm Marty. We'll talk to you next week on The Straight Line.
You've been listening to The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. The Straight Line is the show for drag racing fans and was brought to you by Hercules Tires. Tune in again next Thursday on MRN.com and the MRN app. The Straight Line is also available on demand in MRN.com's Media Center, on our Facebook page, on YouTube, and in iTunes or the Google Play Store. The Straight Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network.